We on? Hello, welcome back. Another episode of It's Real to Me. The first episode of monthly Mayhem. We're going to go through, wrap up what's happened in the last month, what might be happening the next month coming. Let's get into it. Starting off with the one, the only, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. Retired this past week, last night on Raw. What more can be said? What an absolute legend of the game. Went out to Gunther at the end, and the main thing for me is why can we not get Gunther over? He's hated, people are booing, but it just doesn't feel like anything. He's on this Legend Killer tour, this Reaper Man tour. He's took John Cena off his list. He's took AJ Styles off his list, but it just doesn't really feel like anybody gives a shit. And people are booing because they kind of know they have to, but it doesn't feel like people are getting truly kind of passionate about this kind of, they've gone down the kind of Legend Killer Randy Orton 05 kind of route to try and build him, and he's knocked two of the biggest off, but I don't know. It just don't feel like people care. But let's go on to AJ Styles, because what a phenomenal career, phenomenal man. Starting all the way back, WCW, late 90s, early 90s, jobbing out, moving round, gets round to TNA. What an absolute career. You talk some of the Ultimate X matches, pioneering the X division, going on, world champion. The matches with Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, to name a few. Just absolute phenomenal work. And that's kind of where I fell in love with him, discovering him on that dodgy fucking Sky channel that they had back in the day, 429 or something like that. But it was just, discovering that and seeing wrestling in that kind of way, and someone who was almost, too small to be big, too big to be small, could fly around, but technically in the ring, just absolutely phenomenal. And then all the stuff happens with TNA, it all gets a bit contentious, and then going over to Japan and trying to, keep that run up and momentum. He does the stuff with the Bullet Club, he does the stuff with Kenny Omega, the Good Brothers. And then finally, in what for most people would probably be the twilight, the end of the career, 2016, he finally joins the WWE Royal Rumble grand entrance, which originally they botched. I remember watching that live and you couldn't even see who it was, but that's besides the point. And then, 10 years of just, again, unbelievable top draw work. The 3 matches with John Cena, just absolutely brilliant. The latest one where they kind of did an ode to everyone and all the different moves, just absolutely, I've heard it described the other day as a love letter to wrestling. I absolutely agree with that. Everyone got a shout out. Everyone who was anyone got a shout out in that. The match with The Undertaker when everyone was in COVID, and just, a guy like that, to not necessarily a blue chipper guy or anyone that's kind of brought through the system, but just to work. And you talk about it being real, it's probably never been realer to anyone but AJ Styles. And to see that he's going into the Hall of Fame, it's not something to give out to anybody. And what a guy, shouts to AJ. But moving on from that, a place where, people kind of maybe thought he'd be going, he'd be putting the gloves on there, AEW. We've got MJF over there, doing some absolutely solid work. Match at Grand Slam with Brody King, absolutely brilliant again. Sets up the match with Adam Page. Just goes from strength to strength. You can see why the WWE are really interested. You can see why he's a really top heel. Brilliant champion. Looks the part now. Kind of carrying AEW on his back, really. And, we move on to the Revolution match with Adam Page. Tony Storm in the women's, just continuing to go strength to strength. And, you can't get enough of, again, just carrying the company. Them two kind of got the place on the back. They bring over Tommaso Ciampa, and he's a TNT champ for 10 days, and they just kind of bury him like that. It's all a bit sad to see. But, AJ going over there would have been good. Would have been a nice final run, but also be nice for him to have the Hall of Fame moment and just kind of call it a day on his terms there. Then following on from that, we've kind of had all the build for the Elimination Chamber. It's coming up on Saturday. We've had Raw last night. We're recording this on a Tuesday. Let's get into it. We're talking the Men's Chamber. Jey Uso won last night, and I'm still not sure how he's kind of hanging around in that picture. And, you got Big Bronson Reed, and obviously he's injured now for 4 to 6 months, which is not ideal for the vision at all. You got Paul Heyman doing a lot of the legwork there. Logan Paul, really kind of getting on a nice little heel run there. And Lord knows what'll happen now with him. Austin Theory, you got Seth Rollins still out. It's all a bit of a mess for the division, really. But yeah, we got the men's chamber. We got Randy, Cody, that kind of story there that's building slowly. Randy foreshadowed on SmackDown the kind of my friend Cody before he got interrupted, and is he going to do something fucking nasty again, boot someone in the head? Do we get a Cody heel turn? That's something I think we've got to think about. There's possibility there. But that being said, all the kind of stuff with Drew, and they're trying to build Drew as a really kind of nasty, violent heel of a man, just beating the shit out of everyone. We've got a lot of time for Drew, UK guy, all the way up in Scotland there, all the way to the top, just fantastic. But I can't really see how it's going to go. LA Knight in there, someone they really need to push, someone they could push. And we got some of the young bucks. We've got Trick Williams, who's absolutely white hot right now, and it'd be nice to kind of see them, actually build a new star that they bring up from NXT. Same with Javon Williams, just some of the moves, some of the stuff he's doing is just absolutely unbelievable. But I do see, unfortunately, probably just another Cody win. They're talking about QB1, talking about all this. Yeah, I think Cody, there might be a moment there with Randy, but I think he'll come out on top, and then Drew will come out and maybe do some mad stuff as he has been doing. Got the World Heavyweight title match, which hasn't really made a lot of sense. They're trying to build towards, CM Punk and Roman Reigns WrestleMania. They've kind of put a bit of jeopardy there. You do have the kind of angle with the Judgment Day. Will they interfere? Will they screw Finn? That's kind of my bet. If we're talking predictions, I think the Judgment Day finally turn on Finn. Finn versus Dom, WrestleMania. Dirty Dom Mysterio, best heel in the game. That'd be some match for the Intercontinental title. So that's kind of my prediction on that. I think Punk, we'll go over, and it will still be Punk and Reigns. Main event. We got the Intercontinental Women's match. Got AJ Lee, first singles match back in a long time. Becky Lynch, absolutely on fire, white hot as a heel at the moment. Really loving her angle, just antagonizing people as much as possible. But I can't call this one if we're talking predictions. It's in the hometown, CM Punk's hometown, but Becky Lynch being that nasty little heel, I think probably does get the job done. I don't know how. I don't know what they're kind of trying to build to there. But, if you've got any views or comments as well, we've got the It's Real to Me email address. I want to hear some fan questions for the next monthly Mayhem. It's real to me 1@gmail.com. Get your questions into there, anything you might want to ask. We'd love to have you on. Now to move on to the women's elimination chamber. Probably the strongest match on the card, I feel, to be honest. It's got a strong roster, strong lineup of people going in. Rhea Ripley probably stands out as the kind of biggest contender, really, if we're looking at who's going to have a really good match with Jade Cargill WrestleMania. We've had it confirmed that Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquez for the women's world title, should I say. But, it's a mad bit of a changing of the guard, really, as well, because someone like Charlotte Flair not being involved in that match after, all the kind of the years and the work and the kind of, the lineage of her name in wrestling, I think, if we're looking at a bit of a shift. And to be honest, I probably think this with the men's elimination chamber too. You've got some young guys in there, and it's been a long time since I think there's been trust from people that they're kind of bringing up. We've got, as I said, kind of Trick Williams and Javon Evans in the men's chamber, and in the women's we've got Kiana James, and to kind of put in a bit of a rocket behind her. Will she get some kind of highlighted time in this match? I think that's what people would like to see. You've got kind of some more veterans in there, like Alexa Bliss. We've not got Io Sky in there, but we do have Asuka. I just think Rhea's the obvious option. I think she's an absolute star. It's been a little while now since she's kind of held onto a title, and I think if we're looking at someone who could conceivably beat Jade Cargill and then go on a bit of a monster run as she tends to do, and absolutely white hot, and has managed to kind of maintain that over years and actually built a real solid body of work in the whole kind of time in the WWE. I think that's that'd be my choice and probably is my prediction. Whether there'll be any interferences, anything like that. I'm not sure. Whether we'll see any kind of surprises. You know, we kind of saw Brock Lesnar last night on Raw. That was not necessarily a surprise. And again, that kind of, it's irking me a lot about wrestling at the moment, I think, in terms of, you know, he's billed to be here and he's billed to be there. I think an attraction like Brock Lesnar, no matter what, I think if he just shows up, as has been proven in the past, the roof will fucking blow off the place and you get a moment, whereas everyone kind of knows he's coming, and they announce this challenge, this open challenge for WrestleMania, and I think a lot of people would love it to be Obafemi. I think I would be. He's an absolute monster. You know, he kind of squashed Kit Wilson on Friday Night SmackDown. Really kind of funny segment as well. He's kind of really showing that ability to actually be a character and not just an absolute monster, which I think is obviously really key. It'd be great if it was him. It could also be Gunther. Gunther's kind of squawking around, not really looking for anything. We talked before about trying to build Gunther. I think the main way you do that is a match with Brock at WrestleMania, and if not necessarily a career ender, but if you send Brock into obscurity for a bit on top of AJ Styles, on top of John Cena, you know, the face that runs a place, the never seen 17, and then you get the Beast Incarnate, Suplex City. That's three of the best. I think people have to start loving and listening because everyone respects that, you know, Gunther is kind of the man in the ring. You know, you're talking as an operator, the ring general himself. Fantastic, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like people care, but let me know what you think. As I said before, the email is itsrealtome1@gmail.com. Send in any questions you've got if you are listening. Hopefully there is someone listening. This will be the first drop. So, yeah, these will be coming every month. Next one will be just before WrestleMania, so we'll tap back in then. But until then, have a good one. Keep it real. If it's real to you, it's real to me.